Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another video. My name is Rashmi Devangan. Today we are going to discuss about approach control services. In the previous video, I have also discussed about area control services, so you can go and check it out. The link is in the description box. Also, I have made other videos of air regulation topics, so you can also find them in my channel, and it is especially very much helpful for the people who are appearing in the DGCA examination for CPL. So without wasting much time, let's get started. Approach control service is provided by the approach control unit. These services include clearances for departing and approaching aircraft, what heading to follow, which runway to land or take off from, other meteorological conditions in the vicinity of the aerodrome, and what all factors would affect the takeoff and landing of the aircraft. So all these informations are provided by the approach control unit. So first we'll be talking about departure. So there is something known as the standard instrument departure, short form SID. So these have been established in the aerodromes. So the normal departure of the aircraft is done with respect to the SIDs only. Okay. So we'll move on to the minimum separation between the departing aircraft. So if there are two departing aircrafts, then what minimum separation have to be there? So first is 1 minute separation. There are also 2 minute and 5 minutes. So these are the three minimum separations. So 1 minute separation is provided if the tracks of the two aircrafts diverge by at least 45 degrees as in the diagram. In second case, 2 minute separation is provided if the aircraft will be following the same track and the preceding aircraft will be 40 knots faster. And finally, it is 5 minute separation provided if the aircraft will be flying in the same track and no vertical separation is provided. The next point is separation of departing aircraft from the arriving aircraft. So if there is an aircraft ready to depart, ready to take off, and there is again another aircraft which wants to land at the same runway, then in that case what separation has to be maintained? Firstly, in a complete instrument approach. So if the aircraft which is approaching will be following the instrument approach, the complete instrument approach, in that case the aircraft can depart in any direction until the arriving aircraft has started its procedure turn for final approach. And in case which is different, in case where the direction of the departing aircraft is at least 45 degrees from the reciprocal of the direction of the approach, this means that if the aircraft, suppose it is landing from this direction, then from this line, consider this line is the line in which the aircraft is landing. So within 45 degrees of the reciprocal of this track, so within this track, for example, this is the landing aircraft and this is here 45. Within this it should not be landing, taking off. These areas it can take off. So in these directions, after the arriving aircraft has started its procedure turn, provided that the takeoff is made at least 3 minutes before arriving aircraft is estimated to be over the beginning of the instrument runway. So in this case, 3 minute separation has to be maintained. Okay, so we talked about two different points in case the landing aircraft is using an instrument approach. The one in which the direction can be any, in that case it can depart in any direction until the arriving aircraft has started its procedure turn for the final approach. And in second case, except for the 45 degree from the reciprocal of the direction of the air approach, they can be taking off in any direction, provided that the arriving aircraft is estimated to be over the beginning of the instrument runway, and 3 minutes separation should be there. Moving on to the straight-in approach. In straight-in approach also there are 2 points where when the aircraft can depart. So in any direction until 5 minutes before the arriving aircraft is over the beginning of the instrument runway, and at least 45 degrees from the reciprocal of the direction of the approach until 3 minutes before arriving the aircraft over the beginning of the instrument runway and before the arriving aircraft passes the fix on the approach track. So it is almost the same as the one which we talked about earlier, just that any direction until 5 minutes before arriving the aircraft. Okay. Next is reduction in separation minima in the vicinity of the aerodrome may be reduced providing certain conditions. So actually you already know that separation is provided. Separation minima is always there within the aircrafts flying in the airspace. But in this case, when we are landing or when we are taking off, these minimas can be reduced. Keeping some points in mind that adequate separation can be provided by the aerodrome controller when each aircraft is continuously visible to the controller. First point, that the controller can see the aircraft. Second point, that the two aircrafts are in visual contact to each other, they can see the other aircraft. And the third point, that the one aircraft is following the other aircraft and he can properly see them, and he'll be confirming that he can maintain the separation. In that case, the reduction of the separation minima can be done. Okay. Next point is departing aircraft will be provided with all the meteorological information in takeoff and climb out area. Also, they'll be provided operational status of visual and non-visual aids essential for takeoff. That is self-explanatory. So moving on. Procedures for arriving aircraft. So this is the one for the aircraft which is landing. So there is something known as STAR, Standard Instrument Arrivals. This is operated under normal conditions, and aircraft is informed of the type of approach it has to followed by the ATC unit and what runway is to be used. Obviously, these are the most important information that has to be delivered to the pilot who is approaching. Okay. Next comes the visual approach. The visual approach, we'll be first talking about the IFR flight who might want to switch to the visual approach in certain conditions in some parts of its flight. In that case, the controller needs to permit the IFR flight to follow the visual approach, and the controller shall not initiate a visual approach when there is a reason to believe that the flight cannot maintain the aerodrome minimas, or they are not familiar with the aerodrome and the surrounding terrain. Then they won't be allowing the aircraft to fly in the visual conditions. And also that if there is some prevailing traffic or the meteorological conditions, then just the instrument approach is allowed, obviously to those flights which are equipped with the instrument flight equipments, and also that it is only operated within certain limits, which we'll be talking about now. So the ground visibility should be higher than the aerodrome operating minima of a non-precision approach, or the RVR of 2,800 meter for category A and B airspace, 3,200 meter for category C aeroplanes, and 3,600 meter for category D aeroplanes. I'm sorry if I said aerospace here, it's aeroplanes. Okay. So obviously, if there is a certain operating minima in the aerodrome, so say it says that in category A and B you can fly only in the RVR conditions 2,800 meter, and if the visibility or the RVR condition which you have been informed at that moment, it is 2,500 meter, then you cannot take off or you cannot land. Okay, so that's what it is. And also when the runway is in sight, then only you have to, the pilot can ask for visual reference. And coming to the next point, that the runway having only a circling approach, ground visibility should be greater than 5 kilometers. Okay, this is should be. It should be greater than 5 kilometers. Okay. And then the obvious thing that the meteorological conditions should be preferable. Then only the visual approach can be carried on. Then coming to the instrument approach, and this approach is made with the help of the instruments. So the approach control unit shall specify the instrument approach procedure to be used by the arriving aircraft, and the flight crew may request for alternative procedure also. If the circumstances permit, then only it will be cleared to do certain alternative approach which he asked for. Okay. So clearances can be given to an IFR flight to fly in a VMC condition under class D and E of airspace in the daylight hours only, so maintaining certain separation from the other aircrafts. In this case, the clearance shall be given only for the specified portion of the flight at or below 10,000 feet during climb and descent, subject to further restrictions that you have to maintain certain separation and all the other restrictions that have been prescribed by the regional air navigation agreements. And also that it has, if they want to follow the VMC but because of certain conditions or situations they are again not able to follow the VMC, in that case they can be instructed to follow certain other alternative procedure, and that has to be followed by the flights. And then also if they are not able to commence with the VMC condition, then they have to inform the ATC before entering the IMC, and they shall proceed to their alternative approach procedures. Okay, so now we'll be talking about the expected approach time. So it is determined for an arriving aircraft that will be subjected to a delay of 10 minutes or more. So the expected approach time shall be transmitted to the aircraft as soon as practicable, and preferably not later than the commencement of its initial descent from the cruising level. Okay, at that time they have to be given the expected approach time. And revised expected approach time shall be transmitted to the aircraft without delay whenever it differs from the previously transmitted one by 5 minutes or more. And finally, an expected approach time have to be transmitted to the aircraft as soon as possible when the aircraft is required to hold at a certain point for at least 30 minutes. In that case, you have to tell. Okay. The next time is onward clearance time. So it is the time at which the aircraft can expect to leave a fix at which it is being held. Right, this is the onward clearance time. And next we are coming to the information for the arriving aircraft. So there are certain information that have to be provided to them. These are the type of approach and the runway in use, meteorological conditions, and current runway in use and the current runway conditions, changes in the operational status of visual and non-visual aids essential for the approach or landing. Okay, that all information has to be given to the aircraft. Moving on to the point where at the commencement of the final approach, certain other informations are given to the aircraft, which we'll be discussing now. So mean headwind component, if it changes by 10 knots or more, that is known as a significant change in the meteorological condition. That has to be reported. Headwind by 10 knots, tailwind by 2 knots, crosswind by 5 knots. This is a serious change. And also they have to tell about the latest information of wind shear or turbulence in the final approach area, or if there is a change in the current visibility, RVR condition, and also slant visual range. That is also something, that slant visual range is something else, and the runway visual range is something else. So these both are two different things, and the visibility is also different for both of them. So both of them, if they differ by a certain amount, which might affect the safe landing of the aircraft or takeoff of the aircraft, that has to be reported to the aircraft. Okay. Finally, during the final approach, again we'll be discussing this, that certain hazards, if there are, such as unauthorized traffic on the runway, and again significant change in the surface wind. If there is significant change in the runway surface conditions and RVR conditions, and the status of the visual and non-visual aids that changes, all those information has to be given to the aircraft by the control unit. And also it includes some weather conditions such as turbulence or wind shear. That comes under the surface winds only. And CB, well, CB does not like all of a sudden pops up in that area, it builds up gradually, but still if any such weather condition which might affect the safety of the aircraft comes up, then that is being transmitted to the aircraft. This was the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Give it a big fat thumbs up if you like it, and also drop a comment telling me how do you like it. Also, if you have any other suggestions or any doubts, do let me know in the comment section below, and do subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.